Shooters Connection offers products for competition shooters by competition shooters. With over 80 years of combined competition shooting experience, Shooters Connection is staffed by master and grandmaster shooters who live the shooting sports every day. We offer same-day shipping. Shooters Connection also sponsors over 100 of your matches every single year. So when it comes to finding everything you need to compete as a beginner or a seasoned grandmaster, Shooters Connection is the only name you need to know. Online at shootersconnectionstore.com.
Welcome back. This is the Hit Factor Podcast, coming back with our usual crew, Mr. Jeffrey Cawthon, Saul Potato Allen, and myself, Jeremy Reid. Sorry we missed last week. For those who aren't patriotic, it was Memorial Day on Monday when we normally record. And so in observance of, hey, I have a pet peeve about this because almost everywhere you go on Memorial Day.
Finish one thought before you start the next one.
Well, this is part of that. This is part of this whole part of the Memorial Day thing. But like people, you know,
hey,
you go
they
anywhere.
died for my 9% off.
Well, no, okay, that's a separate aside pet peeve. But like they start saying, you know, we appreciate all you veterans and all this and like we need to set the record straight for some of these people. Veterans Day is for people who served and came back. Memorial Day is specifically for the people who died serving our country so that we have the freedoms to do what we do. We have the freedoms to protest and be angry and mad like we are at the government. We have the freedoms to go shoot guns and enjoy this sort of stuff, and freedom of speech and have podcasts and all this sort of stuff that we have freedoms to do. However you feel that they may have been infringed on, but there are people who died trying to protect that and preserve that. And it's important, I think, that we differentiate. Since the days are differentiated, that we differentiate those days. So in observance of Memorial Day, we did not record last week. And I hope you guys, if y'all didn't take a chance last Memorial Day, that remember that as frustrated as things we can get, there are people who gave everything so that we could live in the country that we live in. And that's something we should all be grateful for.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that down for us. That was wholesome.
Yeah.
You didn't even run a Murph this year, dude.
I did not run a Murph.
Hey,
I don't know.
They all forget.
I don't know if I've ever done a Murph on
forget.
Memorial Day or not. Maybe
Yes,
I did last. Did I? Maybe
Yeah,
I did
you
it
did.
last year. Look, okay. The fitness thing is another topic that we can talk about, because up until a few weeks ago, I had basically not done almost anything since like November, and really I hadn't done any running since September of last year. It's almost the longest stretch in the last probably 6-7 years that I went without physical exercise, and it's been rough trying to get back into it. Like I got through class, and that was kind of, you know, okay, I'm just getting through this. It's just got to survive this. I got through teaching the build class, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna start hitting it, and it hasn't gone well up to this point. I mean, like, it's like I have a few days I'll get motivated, and then I got 3 or 4 days where I'm just, the motivation isn't there, and I'm still getting up, but it's like I can work. I don't have to work out, but I can just work and try to make money. And
yeah, that's how it goes for me. It's like,
yeah.
I'm still getting up. Like, we're still getting up at the same time, but it's like I get to working or studying or reading something, and I'll basically just do that until I just have enough time to like go dry fire and do like a half-ass workout.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So I have started. This is my public accountability. I don't do great with like trying to plan individual workouts. Like that is tough for me, especially if I'm not in pretty good condition. If I'm in good condition, then it's easier to plan workouts when you're trying to get in condition. So what I have done in the past, and I've done it with Jeff, is that I kind of just set goals for like a whole month. So my goal for June is I'm going to run 45 miles. I don't care how those miles get done. It really doesn't matter if it's 1 mile at a time or if I run 10 miles a couple of times. I'm going to get 45 miles in. The goal is then 4,000 push-ups for the month of June and 2,000 pull-ups for the month of June. So that's that. The push-ups and pull-ups, that's actually a fairly large number, because that's basically 200 and 100 a day, 5 days a week, and not doing that on the. So that's decent numbers to hit. But man, I find that so much more motivating if I have this like this goal I got to hit for the month. Like I have these numbers I have to hit for the month. I can do that so much better than I can. Oh, I'm just going to make sure I do 5 workouts this week. That
Really?
I don't, because it's like if I don't do it, I get way behind, right? Like if I like today was the first day to start for the push-ups and pull-ups start part of it. It's like, man, if I don't hit my number, if I don't hit at least 200 and 100 today, then I'm already behind for the entire month. So it's like I'm gonna hit those today so I don't get behind.
Nice.
I don't know.
I like it.
It works. It's never this philosophy, because it allows me, like, I'm somewhat uniquely situated. I can do this while I work. I can pause work and go bust out 20 push-ups, 10 pull-ups, and just go bust that out and just do that a few times throughout the day.
You should add an additional rule, or you should let me add an additional rule.
Oh boy, let's see it. Let's hear it.
Is that you can only work out for 25 minutes a day.
Oh jeez. That's the problem, is that my conditioning is so poor that I get so frustrated that like I try to like get like a 30-minute, like solid 30-minute workout. And it's like I just don't get anything done. So okay, like for next month, let's do a month of me just doing it the lame way. That's fine. Maybe for next month I'll let Jeff put some extra stipulations on it. But for the month of June, we're gonna keep it just easy. I'm not gonna get in crazy good shape doing it this way, but you will be, your conditioning. I've done this before. Your conditioning will be pretty solid from it.
See, I'm just not even worried about it right now. I just want to shoot. So if I have time, I'm shooting, or I'm loading, or I'm dry firing, and I'm running 20 miles a week, give or take, a little more, and I walk, 5 miles a day every day, and I do light labor. I'll be splitting wood when the first delivery gets here, and I'm building things at the range, and I'm moving steel back and forth a couple times a week. I mean, so it's like I'm getting, if it was winter, I'd go to the gym. Mm-hmm. But right now, if I went to the gym, it just means I wouldn't go to the range.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
like, it comes from the same time pool.
Yeah, but if you're getting 20 miles a week, 60, 80 miles a month, your conditioning is going to be pretty solid.
Well, yeah, and that's really just stamina conditioning. Like I'm not doing anything to build strength. I'm not getting stronger. I'm not getting fitter, but I'm not getting slower.
Yeah,
right. Like just trying to stay where I am.
I mean,
and then next winter I can go back to the gym.
This is somewhat this. I don't mean to sound insulting, but somewhat that's where you're at in life. I mean, like there's a certain age point where like you gaining strength is not really where you're at, right? Like you typically
no. In your 40s, if you want to gain strength, you can take anabolic steroids and and reduce your quality of life in other ways. Right. But it's like my biggest lifts live in the past.
Yep.
Right. So it's about like sort of functional movement, retaining mobility, keeping up with my kids, all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know there's guys in their 50s who are lifting huge, like of course, but Rob Latham won a nationals at 60, but I wouldn't like take a 60-year-old and try and train them for nationals, right? I mean, like there's outliers.
Yeah. And most of the ones that are 50 and lifting big, I'm guessing most of them were lifting big in their 20s. Like they gained muscle when they were young. Right. Most of them didn't put it on in their 50s. I'm sure there are outlier cases. I'm not like a fitness freak, so don't yell at me too much.
Well, you've got that pygmy hippo energy. I
kind of have that the small hippo energy.
Small hippo.
I didn't say small, I said pygmy. It's like really big. Like a pygmy hippo is big. These are not small animals. It's just for a hippo, it's small, right? But I mean, like For a cat, it's enormous.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have lots of hippo energy references going on. Let's see. So on tap for tonight, we've got Kentucky. Well, it's Bluegrass. It's the Bluegrass
Level 1 championship.
Match that Leif is putting on. That Jeff and I are going to, and it is also the single stack Reid match.
Which are you making a trophy?
I have a 3D printer, which my kids have greatly enjoyed all the toys that they have had made. And yes, it is. I think actually making a trophy of some kind, it will actually be fairly simple. I just have not had the time to do it yet, but
yeah,
I'm going to get something printed. Look, this first one may be comically bad. It may be so good how comically bad it is. I don't know. Maybe it'll be pretty fire, but
yeah.
There's like the Bamboo app, which I have a Bamboo printer. The Bamboo app has like some really easy, just making stuff with raised lettering is really easy. So I'm pretty hopeful that I should be able to import also the logo, the Hit Factor logo, into that and have that as a raised panel too, and then some sort of single stack Reid champion, big hippo champion. Maybe we'll put a hippo on it. I don't know.
Oh,
let's put a hippo on it. And actually, the Bluegrass has about as many single stack registrants as Nationals. So,
yeah, Jeff's shooting it. I'm shooting it. Paul Clark Jr. is shooting it. Paul Kerr is shooting. I think he's going to shoot the match, but he's not going to shoot single stack, I don't think. I'm devastated by that. I'm greatly disappointed in him and his life choices. But I think if he shoots it, he'll shoot limited optics. Bob Crow's going to be there. He keeps asking me, do I have to shoot single stack? And I keep telling him yes. If he wants us to Uber him to and from the airport, then he has to shoot single stack. So we'll see if he shows up with his limited gun or not. But Brady Harden is shooting single stack. Mike Dixon is there shooting single stack. It's pretty heavy crew shooting single stack there, I would say.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're staying, of course, the match is really there close to Lexington. We're staying in Hobart or something like that. It's pretty close. We've got this epic cabin. It looks bussin'. It looks awesome. And we're going to stick around Monday and do some distillery tours day after the match. So that should be pretty fun to kind of get to scope out some of those. And it's gonna be a good trip. Our buddy Brett is coming on to regale us with stories, which should be good.
Shooting single stack?
No, he's not.
I thought
he's shooting his
shooting
CO gun.
Optics, I'd guess.
Yeah, he's shooting his CO gun. He was going to, and he got pretty frustrated with iron sights after IPSC Nationals, and so he swapped. As far as I know, he swapped to his CO gun. I think he's shooting CO because he's shooting CO Nats, which is 2 weeks after it, I think.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks from this Friday.
Okay, yeah, so then 2 weeks after Kentucky. So, yeah, I couldn't talk him into the single stack gun.
It's too bad.
Too much recoil for him. He's just not used to that. That 45 is just too much for him. So, yeah, and then we got some training stuff to talk about. Jeff has some, he's been training a lot. He's starting to feel fired up, which is great. And Potato just shot New Hampshire. Is New Hampshire state match or sectional? State match?
It's a state.
I saw Jay Beal, which massive shout out to Jay Beal winning Carry Optics, beating Max
and
Michelle.
high overall.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
First of 248 or however many people shot it.
Yeah. That's pretty nuts. And beat Max Michelle and Mason Lane, both full-time, now both pro team, SIG pro team members, and little goat farmer Jay comes in there and lays the smack down.
Well, is it Jay? He's like protein Walther.
That's goat energy. That's big goat energy.
That's big goat energy. That's Billy Goat energy is what that is.
Exactly, man. Like you mess with the goat and you get the horns.
That's right, man. Jay, I mean, I've never heard anything more appropriate than Jay Brill bringing big goat energy. But I saw video of the stages. He posted, well, actually Potato posted the video onto the Discord. And the stages looked, from what I saw, the stages looked great. It looked pretty varied as far as distances and lots of activating sequences, which weren't just shoot a steel, shoot a paper, shoot an activator.
A lot of smart people contributed to that match. The lanes have had a big hand in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Designed a couple stages. They both stick around and work, which is also nice to see top level competitors serving as staff for their home match. I mean, we don't really see that much anymore, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some of the stages were excellent. A couple were kind of filler stages that happens at a match.
Yeah.
On the balance, it's one of the best matches in the North. On the East Coast, period. Definitely in the Northeast. Last year was very good. This year was also, it's a well-constructed match, good match flow, smart staff. There's a couple of people who, when you roll onto a stage and you know who the CRO is, and you're like, oh, this is going to be run correctly. Like everybody's getting the right score. Everything's happening like by the books. So they have a couple people working there who sort of give off that vibe. They had people like looking at, there was a little bit of a backup, so they slowed down some stages and sped up some other ones. I mean, again, it's really, really, for a 10-stage state match, if you're looking for something on the East Coast, the New Hampshire state match is a great one to travel to. Easy to get to, too.
Yeah, it absolutely looked like one that if it was at all, like, if you're within 15-hour drive of it, looked like it was worth the drive to go to.
The movers were all slow. That would be my only real complaint. Like, it's a strange thing to say, but to have a lot of slow swingers.
So, I mean, it looked like Jay shot pretty much everything one pass. There was nothing he was, maybe like one that he kind of caught and then had to catch it again that I saw, but pretty much he was shooting all in one pass. But the sequences looked good. As far as like there was kind of lots to do, and there was kind of like I saw Jay kind of like he came in on like one of the first ones I saw. Like he came in, he activated it while he's running, and he still runs forward, gets steady, shoots a hardcover target. Didn't look like a super close one, and then had to catch the swinger as it was going away. So it really kind of. He gained a lot of ground by doing that, but he took some risk to do it. Whereas if you shot the swinger first, you would have given up time.
So I shot that stage 8/100ths of a second faster than him, and I put a delta on the hardcover, and then my brain said that was a delta, but I had to get to the swinger.
Yeah.
And so really, I thought delta, and I manifested it. I transitioned like the swinger was at the full dwell. And I transitioned like to the letter D and put a hole in it. So it's like 12 alpha, 2 delta.
That's where the dot's giving you too much information. I can't see that clearly with an iron sight, so I don't have to worry about that.
But it was like because it was like a shoulder delta, like because I was worried about getting to the swinger in time, right? Like Jay shot that clean. He shot it like really, really disciplined, 14 alpha, right? But so I shot it. And I returned it, and I'm worried about it, and so it's like I sort of pull off a little bit early, and my brain goes delta, and then I drive the gun to the delta on the swinger and put another one in there. It was pretty amazing. As soon as I was done shooting, I was like, wow, I just watched that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you going to do, stand around and wait for it to come again? I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. You did not get to shoot with Jay, did you?
No, I shot with some locals from this area. I didn't actually shoot with anyone I was competing against. Jay shot on staff day with Mason and Max. The three of them were on a squad.
Oh, okay.
So first, second, and third and carry optics shot together. And they had sort of an embedded staff, a guy regionally, Bob Young, who's
okay.
You guys, you know Bob Young. He's
probably
highly competent. You'll see him you've seen him at Dragons Cup or Nationals or elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure I recognize the person more than the name. So you had some takeaways from New Hampshire potato. Like you had some stuff that you weren't happy with your performance in some areas, but you were very happy having a clear object to work on.
This is true. So, and it was funny. I was talking to someone who beat me quite handily. It's a really good shooter who ended up coming fourth in the match afterwards, and we both had a similar thing to improve, which is dropping points on open targets, and not getting anything for it. Like sometimes there's a level of urgency I can bring to my shooting that means I shoot a good shot and then I shoot the target for the second shot. And it feels like I'm faster because I'm sort of busier because I'm moving the gun around more. But you don't get anything. It's not faster. You're just shooting Charlies for no reason on open targets. And if I looked at, how Mason and Jay shot the match, they didn't do that. They both shot 94% of points. These are people who, like, if there's an open target, they put 2 alphas on it. Yeah. And they were very, very fast. Anyway,
I mean,
so that was one thing.
You shot 80, almost 85% of Jay. So, I mean, you didn't have a bad match. I wouldn't say. Like,
I didn't have a bad match. Like, I had a couple, like, throwaway stages. And then what I had is I had unscored errors. So they're in time. And so I know where they are, but you don't see them really on points, right? You don't see penalties.
Right. You were 20 seconds behind Jay for the match.
2 seconds a stage.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably...
That's a lot.
There's a certain level of... But you're only 13 seconds behind Mason for the match, so...
Well, he had a malfunction in there. And, there's can't read too much into the aggregate stuff. My joke that I put on y'all's Discord is I used to go to majors and shoot 2 seconds a stage slower than Jay. And I still go to majors and shoot 2 seconds a stage slower than Jay. The difference is Jay shoots the fastest time now. So it's like we've both gotten better. We've gotten way, way, way better. He's just gotten way, way better, like, at the next level. But, you know, like 4 or 5 years ago, we would have gone to a match like this, and I would have been 2 seconds a stage behind him, and he would have been 1.5 seconds a stage behind Max. Instead, they shot at level on time. Yeah. And that's the difference. I mean, that guy is fast and accurate, Mr. Beal.
Yeah, Jay's, I mean, he's kind of a jerk. We asked him to come on, and he the last time we asked him to come on, he had excuses about goats kidding, and this time he just wouldn't talk to us. I think it's because we had Jedediah on before, and I think there's some beef between Jay and Jedediah. Sure. I don't know what it is, but I think there's some Billy Goat energy versus I don't know what kind of energy Jedediah is bringing, but it's something that a Billy Goat doesn't like, because Billy Goats, they don't like a lot of stuff. So
the Billy Goats really don't. And the last thing I'll say about New Hampshire is it was nice. A couple people who I don't know or don't know well recognize my distinctive voice. So that's cool. Lance Carter and Andrew Bernard and some up-and-coming shooters are like, hey.
That is awesome.
Do I know? You sound familiar. I don't know why.
I love it. Okay, so you have 3 weeks before Karyoptics Nationals. What are you trying to get done between now and then? I know you're gonna be shooting.
I'm gonna shoot 2 alphas. I'm gonna shoot 2 alphas on open paper.
Okay.
And I went out to the range yesterday, and that's what I did. I set up a scenario where it would be tempting not to, but it was all open targets, sort of 5, 10, 15, 20 yards. And what does it look like to shoot 2 alphas? And now, if I shot a Charlie, I don't care, right? A Charlie, out of 10 rounds, I really don't care. Like, I didn't judge that as a failure. Mm-hmm. But if I shot 2 or 3, I really did care. It's like, that's not what we're doing here. Open paper, like, I need to have enough control of the gun that I shoot alphas on open paper. If I'm not shooting an alpha, I need to get something for it. I need to have decreased risk. I need to have a massive time savings. But in minor, like, I can't go around giving away 40% of the value of every shot.
Especially with a
and
dot.
getting nothing for it.
Yeah.
No, not with the dot, where I know what happened. Now, I can't make them up. There's no way to make them up fast enough. So I need to do it correctly the first time.
Okay, so, I mean, so this is going to start getting into kind of what I was talking about as far as like mental input and stuff. So you just said, I'm going to shoot 2 alphas on paper, and that's what I'm going to do between now and nationals. Okay, like, is it just as simple, I'm just going to shoot alphas, or is there a certain process you're trying, like what process are you failing that's keeping you from shooting 2 alphas on paper?
A couple of really big mental problems.
Okay.
One is I shot 2 stages of this match, and I think I dropped 3 Charlies across 2 stages, including like a big stage.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I'm shooting way too slow. I need to speed up.
Yep.
And so then I did speed up. I didn't. I shot at the exact same speed for the rest of the match. I just shot a bunch of Charlies. Like nothing went faster. I just shot Charlies. And I was busier. And like I overran positions, and like I was more effortful.
Yeah, you kind of get nervous feet sometime, I would call it.
Yeah.
Your feet just get nervous. The ADHD goes to your feet sometimes.
So wait, what did you do to shoot less alphas? Did you just spend less time on the second shots? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I transitioned sooner. Not the gun, but my attention. And then, because I did that, then I'd over transition. Yeah. But I have the discipline to not send the first one. So I'd wait for the sights to come back to the A and send a good shot and then do it again. So it was Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie on targets where I was doing whatever it took to fire the first shot where I wanted it. Whether I was on the move, on a swinger, it did not matter. The first shot was good. And then because that took so long, because I was rushing and like trying, I was like being effortful. And, you know, I can learn this lesson once a match. It's not a new lesson. Everyone struggles with this. But the time to get fast is not like the match. Like at the match, just be fast. And if you're not fast, be as fast as you are. Right? Like that's all you've got. And I mean, I can learn that once a match, but I kind of unlearned it here. Is I was shooting really, really disciplined and tidy and like really clean. And I thought, no, that's not sustainable, Saul. And what's funny is those stages, if I look at the times, my times were closer to the winners on those than pretty much all the rest of the stages where I started trying more. Yeah. So it's a mental thing. And so for me, I need to set up situations in training where I'll want to make the mistake, where I'll get invested in the time, where I'll look at the timer, where I'll start caring about the wrong things, and then feel what it feels like to do the right thing, even when I want to do something different. Because I'm not going to get the technical skill to catch up with these people who are beating me in the next 3 weeks. That's just not what my life looks like. But I can absolutely get the mental discipline to get a result I've earned in 3 weeks. If I really tempt myself in training to do the wrong thing and then like feel that agony of doing the right thing.
Right. So I mean, like, is it simply? I mean, this gets talked about from so all the time, and I have another question too. But is it simply a matter of like you were process based, whatever? And I'm still totally not sure what your process was when the stages that you shot well. Like you were just process based there, and then you arbitrarily said, I'm too slow. So you made this mental switch and you just became results based for the rest of the match, just trying to achieve a result rather than trying to perform the process.
I still was process based, but it was a process that doesn't work.
Okay. Explain that.
I mean, so more. I invested, I was like, oh, this is too slow. Let me use a faster process. Mm-hmm. And the faster process was like a more effortful process. Like I wasn't trying to force a specific result. Like I didn't have a time in mind. I wasn't closely analyzing the stages. I wasn't shooting against anybody on my squad, like at all. I mean, I was just there doing my own thing, shooting with totally pleasant people from the area. But you know, they were shooting other divisions. Like it wasn't
right.
And so it wasn't that I got results based like I might in training. It's that the experience of the successful process didn't feel good. So I used a process that felt like more urgent. I even tried getting mad, but I did the angry thing backwards. I would get mad after the stage.
Oh no, that doesn't
and I
work.
think you got to get mad before.
Yeah.
I almost spiked a mag, which is like pretty, I finished this really long running stage. Shannon Smith was the RO, right?
Yeah.
I finished it, and it's like I'm stomping around, and it's like, it's a really long, it's the second to last one on Jay's video. Like it's like a lot of movement, maybe 50 yards of obligated movement. And Shannon's like, what are you so mad about? Like, you're just a few seconds behind, like, the fastest open guys on this. He won the stage in open.
Yeah.
So he's talking about himself. He's like, you're just a few seconds behind that. And as soon as I did unload show clear, I knew where I lost the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a mystery. It wasn't like one of those stages, like, how does Jacob do that, right? It was, I unload show clear, and it's like, I left 2 seconds that are available to me today behind by not doing what I wanted to do. But it turns out the time to be angry is before, not after. Because by the time I got to the next stage, it was all gone and it was back to normal. And I tried to tell some people I got mad, like people who know me, and they're like, you didn't get mad.
I wasn't mad.
It's like, no, I was really mad. I thought about being angry. Shannon noticed I was mad, but yeah. It's like, what are you mad about? And I'm like, see all these Charlies? There's 7 of them.
Man, I mean, I like the discussion just simply from most of us who have competed for a while have been there, in that we want to be aggressive at a match, right? And it's just like, hey, I'm going to be aggressive. And there's times where, quite frankly, that works. Like, you're able to be really aggressive and you shoot well. Like, you pull stuff off. There's also times where it's like, you're just like trying to be aggressive, and it just makes everything go to just absolute crap. And so it is a challenge of kind of trying to figure out, like, how can I shoot the cleanest, but still not just be a potato, I don't mean that in potato's name, but just not be slow.
But it's all just you specific. So like, yes, you're trying to find this balance of like how fast can you go and collect the good points and everything, right? But like Saul was saying, like, he did that and it didn't feel the way he wanted it to feel. In other words, it didn't feel rushed. So he made it rushed, right?
Yep.
But he was, and then you also get in your head, like, you see the time, right? You're like, what are they shooting it in? Oh, my time's not fast enough. I'll just go faster. And that doesn't really work. Like, you train to shoot as fast as you can, and then you have to try to shoot the match at that pace or slightly under it. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It does not matter. Because you can't do it.
Yeah. I think this bleeds into what we've alluded to so far, as far like the whole mental input thing, as far as where I'm putting my mental input. And honestly, for me at this point, practice is almost just, it's practicing where is my mental effort the most effective, right? Like what, because there's so many different even if you're process based, there's so many different processes that you could focus on, right? Like there's the exterior stuff, as far as like your footwork, your hand placement, maybe your grip is somewhat exterior, and then it's, okay, what am I doing visually? What am I doing with my trigger? Like there's kind of all those different processes all going on, and you can't think about all of them. And I think even trying to bounce around on them in the middle of a stage gets me just more antsy. It kind of like sounds like potato shot whenever he was trying to go faster. If I'm like, okay, while I'm running between positions, I'll try to think about this. Then once I'm in the position, I'll try to think about this. And your mind's just going 90 to nothing. So I'm just in practice. I'm just trying to, okay, at this point, this run, I'm putting all my mental effort and energy into seeing alphas. Like, I'm going to try to see alphas as fast as I can. Like, how early can I recognize the site in the middle of the target?
Yeah.
And then everything else, I'm just letting everything else happen at that point. It's just how quickly can I recognize it? And that even becomes, that's not even I recognize it and just blast two, right? It's every shot is accountable, is its own thing. And you're just trying to recognize that site back in the middle. And man, I often find that to be very effective. I think that is my best match mentality, because it allows me to feel aggressive. It allows me to be aggressive.
See alphas. So out of all, so you're cutting out like a piece of this story, which is you've been experimenting with things other than that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
right.
For
and
sure.
So you've thought about like feeling like the trigger goes straight back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just moving that trigger finger in isolation. And then what happens when that's what you're doing? When you're like, all right, I'm going to minimize inputs into the gun and all I'm going to care about. But it sounds like when you're doing that, you don't achieve sort of the level of aggression you get when you're just trying to see the sights into the next alpha.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't even say it is a level of aggression necessarily. Just that it's how do I say this? I kind of got lost in my own thoughts. I really just kind of got lost in my own thought of what you just said. I'm sorry.
So you've talked about sort of really where you're putting your attention, and so your practice is practicing putting the attention where you want it,
Right.
versus just wherever it happens to fall. And then you've practiced switching the attention, like, hey, I'm going to run hard here and then see, and that hasn't worked as well. And so it's what sort of singular emphasis?
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Yeah, and so on the vision side, this is what I was going to say. On the vision side, what if I'm just putting my mental focus into, all I care about is seeing the sights in the middle of the target, whatever target I'm shooting at, and that's really all I'm caring about. And I'm just trying to recognize that as early as I can, right? So it's not this lackadaisical, you're waiting until everything's completely stabilized. But there's at a match, like when you're nervous, it somewhat takes away. It helps with a lot of those nerves, because you're taking away a lot of this variability of, okay, are the sights going to return perfectly, right? Like if I'm just going to split hard, am I going to pull the trigger perfectly right and it's going to be there? It kind of takes that away, in that, like, if the gun doesn't track perfectly for whatever reason, I'm still just waiting to see it come back to the A. So maybe that target, I don't shoot that target at a max efficiency, but I'm still going to shoot that target well, and it's still going to have good hits. So my two different inputs are what we've talked about, which is I'm just going to try to recognize the sights in the A zone as efficiently as I possibly can. Then the other one is really putting my mental energy on the process of how am I pulling the trigger, because for me, how I pull the trigger really affects how the sights track and how accurate I am able to be, and that sort of thing. And so if I put my mental energy in my vision, then I'm just basically letting my trigger do whatever I do with it. If I put my mental energy into my trigger press, then I'm just somewhat relying that I will just naturally aim in the center of the target. And what I find myself oftentimes doing, I get so enamored with the trigger press that I'm just pulling the trigger, and the sights are like, they're on the target-ish, and the gun may be tracking perfectly, but it was never in the middle of the target. Like, I never even should have been shooting. I was just more worried about how I pull the trigger, not worried about when I pull the trigger. And
so, like, your subconscious will get the sights to brown, but they may not get it to the A.
Right. Yep. Or even just be a really perfect sight picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you're hungry for, like, sights arriving where they're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
and letting the trigger press and everything else be subconscious, that's where you're getting your best results.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a lot of times.
question.
Yep.
So what are you training right now? Are you going out and just training like this thing? Like when you train, are you just thinking look at alphas, or like are you still training skills separately? Like are you training your trigger press over here so you don't have to think about it while you shoot?
Yeah, so that's the fascinating thing, because one, I don't know if other people are like this. I often, like, I'll go out and shoot, and you shoot kind of your cold run. You kind of see where you're at for the day. And honestly, my cold runs have been pretty good lately, which has been cool. But then you kind of go through your practice, and something deteriorates, or you're not shooting that well. Maybe Jeff said he had a practice the other day where he basically couldn't screw up. That sounds fun. But, like, it's crazy how the fix is almost different every practice session. Like, it's like, okay, I'm shooting poorly, but I'm trying to aim really hard. And it's like, hey, just worry about staying in contact with the trigger and quit slapping it. And all of a sudden, everything gets tighter. I'm shooting a whole lot better. It's like, oh, well, I just need to focus on the trigger. Well, then you go out the next day and you're like, okay, I'm just going to make sure I'm in contact with the trigger all the time. I'm doing that. I'm doing my trigger press great. And you go out, and it's just you're dropping points, and it's just crap everywhere. It's like, just freaking aim. And you start doing that, and all of a sudden you're shooting well again. It's like, dadgummit, which one is it going to be today? And it's almost like you have to just like see how it goes. So what I am trying to do is, like today, I had a good short practice session today. I would say it was much more drill based, even though I didn't just sit and hammer a single drill. But for me, drill based is kind of like today I had 4 targets out, minimal movement, but no mag. I didn't do any mag changes at all today. So 8 rounds or less, maybe 9 rounds on one, but kind of 8 round strings or less. And today I honestly said, like, I don't care about time. I don't care about hits really. Even I did care about hits. I don't say it. But today is just drilling trigger fundamentals. I'm just drilling, making sure that I'm doing that how I want to, so that hopefully, like this, and then hopefully I'll be more scenario based my next practice session out if I have time for it, and then that hopefully I can just be more vision, and you're relying on today's practice of being super process based on the trigger. You're relying on that carrying over then to being able to shoot totally vision based, and that your trigger press is gonna carry over. That's kind of how I'm.
Okay.
That's how I'm processing it and attacking it in live fire, if that makes sense.
So this is different than what you've done in the past.
Not totally. Like, this is, I want it to work so bad. Like, I want it to work so bad where you go out and you load up a set of mags, whatever that is for you. So we'll call it 30-ish rounds, and you go sit and you just shoot a fundamental drill, whether it's dots or doubles or, some sort of just fundamental drill. So that way you do that for a set of mags. Then you go shoot a set of mags, and you're shooting a scenario-based thing, and you're just bounce back and forth between the two. And hopefully that should be that you're constantly interacting with your performance side and your very process-oriented side, and those are hopefully meshing. That's where I always want my practice to get to. It just there can be some pitfalls to that that you kind of can get lost in some stuff.
So there's a 40-minute video of Bro Texon training that some buddy of his took. That's not him like trying to show how to train. It's like him just actually training.
Yeah.
And he does the kind of observational training where it's like draw, hit a piece of steel, shoot a couple pieces of paper, shuffle over, shoot a couple pieces of paper, right? And if it goes well, then he does something different. And like if you see him like do a bad transition, then he'll like repeat that sequence and like do it correctly. and then he'll do something different. Or it's like you can see, right? Like you can see like his gun didn't transition cleanly to the steel. So he'll do a different sequence, but he'll put that transition right back into it. So he can fix that one that didn't go well. And you can watch, like it's like play. It's like a child playing like with in a sand pit, right? Like they're just sort of moving stuff around and seeing what happens, and then they're reacting to what happens. But like if you take your 4-year-old and you give them a sandbox and a bunch of things, they actually don't have a full concept. Most 4-year-olds, like some kids do, but most 4-year-olds don't have a full concept of what they're going to accomplish, right? They start doing something, and then depending on how it goes, then they sort of react and incorporate that. And I think for some people, that's a really productive way to train. For me, that's a great way. I just will get stuck and sort of loop on one element, and then I'll want to like perfect that element, and I'll lose sight of the sort of play. And now I'm like trying to build my perfect little sand tower, and I was like neglecting the rest of the sandbox. But it's kind of a cool video. You can find it on YouTube, but it's just sort of a candid take of this is what his practice actually looks like when you're not trying to like show what practice looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I really think probably the best way to do it is, okay, have your scenario-based thing, that's stage-based, scenario-based, that's, you know, for me, that's normally 15 to 17, 18-ish rounds. That's usually kind of just where I'm at. Shoot that, and then if you have an issue with that, like isolate like a 4 to 6 round section, and give yourself like 3 runs on it. Right? I'm gonna really try to just nail this 4 to 6 round section, and then maybe make a new scenario at that point. I think that would be a really smart, effective way to mix the two. I'll be completely honest. It's so I don't have a good just structure around my weekly schedule. I know it's crazy since I work for myself, but life's just crazy, and you have garbage disposals that go out, and so then you just lose a morning.
All 3 of us last weekend. Mine was fixed by pressing the reset on the fuse, though, so I win.
That's not mine. Was literally I was hoping for that, and then this morning I go to do some dishes and then realize that it's just draining water into my cabinet through the garbage disposal. It's like, oh well, we need a sink. Like it's hard to cook or do anything if you don't have a sink. And so I just had to, it's like, well, I have to fix this now. So anyway, but yeah, I think there's some meat on that for me as far as finding that out. And I'm still finding huge value in, I'm still doing this 60 yards, 4 round draw, shoot 4 rounds at 60 yards. That's every time I go load mags, I just go shoot that target 4 rounds, and then I go shoot my max. And man, I find huge value in that. I will say it is crazy to me. We're talking about all this aiming and all this at 60 yards. A perfect trigger press is way more effective at shooting good points with iron sights at 60 yards than trying to just aim in the middle of the target really hard. I'm really curious. I'm really curious about like guys shooting dot. If that's just me, or guys with a dot gun, where the aiming is just easier. Like I'm really kind of curious how their experience.
No, the aiming doesn't help you. So if you want to shoot at 50 yards with the dot, and I mean there's way better group shooters than me, but I shoot pretty good groups at 50 yards with the dot. I put a paster out there, and I put the dot on the paster, and then I stop caring. Like I've gotten it there. Yeah. I don't try and keep it there. Right. Like I just trust that my hands and my eyes and everything else will be roughly the same, and then I just pull the trigger without moving the gun. And if I do that and shoot a 5-round group, it's a pretty good group. Yeah. And if I get really, really interested in staring hard at the paster and keeping the dot there, it's just never as good. Never.
Yeah, that's hard. From shooting just a group. I'm not really trying to shoot I'm not trying to shoot small groups. It's not group shooting.
and often my small groups are kind of more like practical accuracy in the old Stagger way. Like when my dot comes back, I send it again. Yeah. And those are like acceptable groups. It's like sights have returned. As long as I have enough information, I send it again. But trying to get more information than enough, doesn't make the result better.
Yeah.
Like trying to get
sure.
the dot to stay on a paster at 50 yards, like if you put a black paster so you have like an aiming reference, you try and get your eyes to stay on it. It's just get it near and then trust that you won't move it.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like, I'm surprised the value in practicing this a lot, because you just think, okay, if I have to shoot long or really tight shots at a match, I'll just be careful. I'll just know, okay, I'll have a really careful press. I'll aim really hard, and that'll be fine. I just won't worry about going fast. It is amazing to me how with practice, because like I said, I've had a month off and then started shooting again a couple of weeks ago, and I was doing this before leading up to IPSC Nationals, and man, the first few practice sessions back, like just trying to draw the gun and get it stable at that distance was hard. And it's not like it's not like a muscle conditioning thing or whatever, but it just seems like the more you practice it, the easier it is to put the sights back in the middle of the target. Whether that's just your vision is used to recognizing that, or there's practice in stabilizing the gun at shooting at something that small. I really don't know what it is, but it's surprising how just this small amount of constant reminder is really effective at being able to improve at it. It's strange, honestly, to me, but.
Oh, it's interesting that you say that. What did you say? The small amount of constant reminder?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
So this is something I'm doing different this year that I think is going to have a really big effect. And I kind of believed it was going to have a big effect before I started doing it.
So you're manifesting it.
Yeah, I'm manifesting it.
Big hippo energy.
Don't tell Tyler Turner.
But also, I think it is having a big effect. And it comes from a Rob Latham video that he did a year ago for CompTac. It's called Zero Check Drill. And I think I talked about it on here. But basically, I'm going to do that drill like 3 times before I start practicing. And I find that what that eliminates for me is going out and doing a run and then being like, okay, I'm not shooting very good today. Okay, well, I'm not grouping very good today. And then I kind of have to backpedal and figure out what I'm doing, right? I can go out and like shoot perfect first, right? Like I'm going to go out, I'm going to shoot. First, you shoot like extremely deliberately, like the tightest group you can pull. And then you speed it up just a little bit more, and then you shoot it like pretty quick, right? So I do that 3 times, so like 27 rounds. And then start shooting. And like I've only done it a couple times at this point, but it's dude, it's weird. It is weird how much better I am shooting by doing that first.
Mm-hmm.
So remember when you were doing your perfect sight lift and dry fire?
Yeah.
I think this is related, right? Like you're showing yourself this is what it's supposed to look like.
Right. Well,
or
it's
this
not
is
only
what doing
look
this
like,
thing correctly.
This is
feel
what
like. This is what it is to do it.
Yeah. Like this is what this feels like before you get started. And anyway, and I know that you're not getting that cold run feedback like a lot of people like to get. But I think it's training those first shots, I think is what it's doing for me. Like I don't think I'm going to miss out on, because I'm not getting those cold runs to like gauge where I'm at. I don't think I'm missing out on anything. I mean, time will tell, but anyway, I'm doing that every single practice, every single live fire practice. I'm going out, I'm doing those 3 rounds of that drill, the zero check drill. And it's like Jeremy said, it's that constant reminder. Like before every practice, I get the reminder of what a perfect sight picture and perfect trigger press is. before I start going.
Super solid grip, right? Like you're giving yourself, hey, this is what a perfect grip feels like. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
So
you learn it and then you train, and it carries through the training until basically my hands are fatigued. So now I know when I stop shooting well, like I know why. I know it's because
my hands are tired.
It's because there's fatigue. Fatigue is creeping in, and so like this practice, I still had bullets, but I was like, I mean, I know that I can't hold the gun like I could 30 minutes ago, so I'm just gonna stop.
So when
you guys switch to dots, then this will really help you.
Oh gosh.
Because there's always something going wrong with the dots, and if you don't confirm that everything mechanically is sound, you can spend an entire practice chasing an emitter that has shifted slightly, right? And if it's shifted like to the left, then you could spend a couple hours trying to reduce the tension in your firing hand because your dot's broken.
That world sounds miserable.
And it happens a lot, especially if you do high volume, short duration training, because that's how you toast dots, is you shoot hundreds of rounds really quickly. Yeah. Like it just wrecks them. Like people who are like, I have 40,000 rounds on my SRO, and you're like, yeah, you never shoot more than 80 rounds at a time. That's why. But yeah, it's like if you go out and you zero your dot at the beginning, then how do I zero my dot? I do it by shooting a group, like the best group I can shoot, because I want to know mechanically what the gun's capable of, not what I'm capable of. Okay. And I don't rest on bags to shoot groups. I never have. So I go and I shoot a slow fire. And I don't do this every time, but maybe listening to Jeff, I'm going to start doing it every time. But I do try and do it pretty frequently because I've had enough dots break, broken 12, 13 SROs. And most of the time when they break, it's the zero shifts. It's not physically broken from the outside. And I try and do this, once a week or so. So I shoot a group to start off. And as long as it's mechanically sound, what it's probably also doing is it's showing me what it feels like to like intend to hit a specific spot and hit it, which is all we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back in my music days, trumpet days, we had our studio had a very specific thing that we did, and we had a routine, and it wasn't unique to just Texas Tech Trumpet Studio. Lots of other ones did it, but we had a routine that we did every day, and there were kind of multiple ways to do it. There was one that we had. Well, there were these 2 buzzing songs. It was 8 minutes total. That you do lip buzzing. You just no trumpet, no mouthpiece, no nothing. You just do it with your lips, and so you would do those, and then we played through it was a 30-minute routine. We'd go through different exercises and stuff like that. Just to kind of it's a warm up as far as like playing trumpet is very physical with very small muscles, but it's very physical. I know that sounds really strange, but it is. But the thought process on it is that there will be times where you're gonna have a concert, you're gonna have an audition, you're gonna have something, and you won't be able to get your routine in. But the whole point of it was that your body will be so used to having that routine and playing well from the very get-go. Like that's what we're trying to do with our routine. It was just a slow way to play well and get warmed up. That the times where you have to shoot cold in a match, well, you're leaning on that routine that you've always done. Is that every time you go shoot, the first thing you do is you shoot really well, and so there. That process and that was the idea behind it. It was that you have this routine that establishes these fundamentals so well in you that whenever you can't do your routine, you will still play really, really well. And yeah, so
I think I need a warm-up routine because cold shooting's great, but why would I ever shoot cold if I don't have to?
I mean,
I get why people want to.
It's like if I can do a warm up, I'm not fighting cardboard to save my life, right? So it's like I can always go to a safe area and do a dry fire warm up routine, right? Like I can't take a couple of like mulligans on full stages, but it's why don't I get really warm? I mean laziness is the actual answer, but I mean. But I should do that in my practice too. Like I'll show up at the range and I'll be like, oh, I just want to do my cold run. But really it's like I don't want to spend the mental energy of like doing proper reps and proper rehearsals for my cold run. So I just kind of wing it and then like assess myself based on that. But it's like I would never shoot a match like that. I wouldn't wander out to my first stage of nationals and be like, just gonna wing it, right? Like it's. But I do a practice all the time. I'm like, I'll set up these 6 targets and I'm like, go. Let's go.
You hit on a really important thing that I use my cold run for, and then I use my cold run as a mental warm up, and that's the run in practice where I do a whole lot more visualizations. I'll do more walkthroughs. I will do more what I do at a match. I'm going to do that more on a cold run. As far as, so like I'm going to have a mental warm up before I start shooting. The shooting is cold, but I do my typical mental warm up. And so I do find a lot of value in that, because I've tried it before and maybe other people aren't, but if you're 50 rounds in, you're 100 rounds in, like you're not doing all these mental rehearsals, right? Like you're warmed up, you're dialed in mentally, you're paying attention already. So I'm not doing a whole lot of mental rehearsals. Maybe I should do more of that, but that's kind of what I use the cold run for. Is I don't just start trying to shoot and then, okay, we'll just react after that's what I used to do a long time ago. Just shoot your first run. Don't worry about it. Just shoot it. And then we'll react and make changes, make adjustments. No, let's try to mentally be dialed in as much as we can. Let's try to set all the work stuff aside, family stuff aside, sinks that are broken aside. Let's really try to set that aside for that first run as best we can, and not try to wait 50 or 100 rounds into our practice session before we really start focusing.
Yeah. That can be tough sometimes, dude. Get to the range and try to like friggin'. It's like, man, I came all the way out here. I set up all these targets. This is my one time a week. I'm going to have 1 hour to do this. Like, freaking do yourself a favor and forget about life right now.
I had the worst live fire just before this tonight because I went to the range to do range repair because we're hosting a match this weekend. We tried Armory benefit match, and a tree fell on one of the Connex, and so I brought my little electric chainsaw out and I was sawing up the tree and throwing it off the Connex, and the sun is setting, and I brought my guns because I'm going to a gun range. I'm going to bring my guns. I'm not one of those people who goes there just to work. Sun is setting, and I look and it's like, we have to stop at sunset. It's 7:51. I think sunset was 8:09. I'm like, all right, I'm going to hit the steel bay and I'm just going to practice really hard for 18 minutes. Like, that was not a good practice. I mean, there was no mental prep, right? It was like, put down the chainsaw, pick up the gun, go. And it was like, I just got to keep shooting. Got to shoot faster. I'm almost out of time. It's like, yeah.
No, there are times where I've shot like one set of mags and left because it's like the resources isn't worth burning here. Obviously, like I can get to a range.
That's what I should have done. Is I should have set up a sequence, really like mentally prepped and rehearsed. It's 8:05. We've still got 4 minutes before sunset, and just had one really good clean run and like assessed my mental process. Instead, I was like, well, let me just quickly get 200 rounds downrange.
Well, and sometimes
I'm sure I'll learn by osmosis.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's worth it. Like if you're just not there mentally because life is just what life is, man. Sometimes it's worth it. Say, hey, I'm not trying to get better. Like I'm just trying to. I'm just shooting guns.
Yeah, I mean, and I say that to people all the time too. Is I distinguish between like sometimes I'm at the range with my competition gear and I'm pulling the trigger, but I'm not mentally present. But it makes me smile and I go home happy. So. It's not a waste.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes it's fun. Like, okay, how fast can I shoot a head box at 20 yards? Right? Like, is it practical to try to get sub-second on that? Well, I mean, not really. Like, at least I don't ever put like energy and like real training sessions into like spending time.
But you might shoot 2 mags at it.
But yeah, like if you're just like if you just don't have the mental capacity to really just be focused and dialed in. It's like, okay, let's see what I can do there. Let's burn some bill drills for fun. Like, what can I be Isaac Lockwood for 50 rounds without shooting my foot, right? And the answer is no, I can't. Although, dude, Did y'all see? We're way late in the podcast. He just posted some video. He wrecked his forehead. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't gotten taken down off of Facebook because there is a gash that's at least a penny wide on like his hairline on his forehead. I don't know what, like if somebody hit him with a baseball bat, I don't know what was going on. He was laughing about it with the nurse that was sewing him up, but
dang,
it was crazy. But anyway, yeah, I think I should do that more, honestly. Like, I should have more practice sessions where I just go goof around and just see, hey, what's possible? Like, can I go to 100 yards and what's going to happen at 100 yards? Not that and not like where you get mad or you have any sort of performance expectations, but let's just see what happens at 100 yards.
Yeah.
I should I should do more of that.
That's kind of what my local match is.
Yeah.
Just because it's a bunch of old dudes and it's always different. You don't ever know what to expect. So it's just like show up and then just have fun and do something crazy. Like usually if it's like shooting steel or something, like I'll add an additional element just cause be like, okay, well, the last string I'm gonna shoot freaking weekend, or the last string I can't shoot 2 pieces of steel that are next to each other. I have to transition around.
You have to pick an order to okay.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. Or I've even done that at bigger club matches like Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
One day I went up there and I was like shooting with a couple guys, and there was a stage where they had 2 Texas stars on it side by side. Wonderful. And I was like, all right, let's shoot this, but you can't shoot 2 pieces of steel on a star in sequence. You have to go back and forth on those stars.
Between the 2 stars?
Yeah. So we shot them. And honestly,
both swinging.
But what was kind of cool about that is like with that stipulation, like I figured out how to shoot it probably even faster doing that. Because I thought about it really hard. And I was like, dude, if I could get these stars swinging together this way to where they're swinging into each other, then I can just sit in the middle and go back and forth and knock them both out. And I ended up doing that, and it worked, and it was incredibly fast to shoot 2 stars. But I never would have figured that out if I wasn't goofing off and trying to do that. So
when we used to have more people shooting our local matches, we'd sometimes have a stage where somebody would come up with a really stupid plan, and sort of everyone who is in contention with each other would all commit to doing the stupid plan.
Yes.
Right? Like, and that's fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's like nobody's really going to lose or win or lose on this, but it's like we're all doing the thing where we run all the way over there, all the way over here, and then like big retreat, right? Instead of just shooting the left or right.
Yeah. No, I think there's very much a very appropriate way to do that, and actually probably will be pretty beneficial to your shooting in the long run. To maybe every once in a while, like, let's just get away from mental processes and trying to be perfect and trying to be efficient and just go shoot for fun. Because that's what, most of us, when we first started and we first started training, that's how we did it, right? Like, we just went out, how fast can I draw the gun? How fast can I have a reload? How fast can I do a build draw? How fast can I do an L-Pres? And you're just out there blasting. You're not really thinking. You're just like, go fast. How can I do this? And that's kind of
they used to have a practice night at my club, and that's what it was, is they'd build a stage, and then we'd all just line up and take turns running at the stage, right? Like, I didn't have any concept of what I was trying to do better than the previous time. It was just take another run at the stage, right? And, if 12, 15 people show up, then you'd only get like 3 tries at it. Then we'd tear it down and the night was over.
And, like, there's a certain level of intuitive learning that probably happens just being like that, right? Like, just kind of shooting a little bit mindlessly. Like, I'm just going faster. And you automatically run harder. You automatically kind of pay more attention because you want to hit your steel, because it's way slower if you don't hit your steel. Shout out to Fitz, who posted his best match, his best stages from his local match, and he literally didn't hit a single piece of steel on one of his stages. So shout out to Fitz.
And he still came second, just barely behind the open shooter.
He still
came second. It's a great time to shout out Shooters Connection,
Yes,
where you can buy all the pasters you need for those local matches, and honestly, everything else. I bought an entire gun from there. I bought an MPA from Shooters Connection. It was in stock. Like, people were like waiting like 4 or 5 months. I ordered it, and it was at my FFL 5 days later.
That's incredible. I go to Shooters Connection. I'm always surprised, like, parts. I just got a bunch of Koenig, a bunch of Koenig hammers from them, because they're hard to find sometimes. So yeah, I get stuff from Shooters Connection literally all the time. So they sponsor the matches, they sponsor our sport, they support us, which is great. So please go buy stuff from Shooters Connection if you can.
They ship. I feel like they ship incredibly fast.
Oh, their shipping it sets a new standard that, like, because I buy stuff from them all the time, I get really frustrated when I buy from other people, because like I buy something from Shooters Connection and I almost immediately you have tracking number. I get it may not be shipped yet, but then you look that night and it is picked up or the next morning.
If you order over the weekend, they take care of it first thing Monday morning, right?
Yes.
So it's not it doesn't go to the back of the pile.
Like, where are they? Where are they located?
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right by Lexington, right?
Because,
I
dude,
so.
I get that stuff, like, faster than Amazon Prime. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How fast it arrives.
I don't know if that's where they are, but if they are, then that would be right by the giant UPS air depot.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I get it in like 48 hours or something like that. But I just ordered targets. I haven't ordered targets in a couple years, so I got some targets and a new site.
You up on targets. I have a bajillion that I was
Yeah,
given.
but you live like halfway across the country.
I'm also driving
5 hours.
I'm also driving.
It's also driving to pick you up and drive you to
in
Kentucky in a week.
But I was out of targets. Like, I didn't have any. They were all shot up.
Well,
yeah, I wasn't low. I didn't have any. I don't stock things. When
I know,
I'm out,
like,
I buy more.
I offered Jeff a chance to stockpile bullets at dealer prices, and the more he buys, the cheaper it gets. He's like, yeah, I'll take like 3,000.
It's like, that's just a normal order, dude. Like, you got to stockpile. You got to think, okay, I'm going to shoot 24,000 rounds next year. Let me get 24,000 bullets.
Right. And yeah.
But this is why Jeff's rich in the crypto markets and I'm not. Because he doesn't waste all his money on a basement full of primers and bullets.
Yeah, but he's not rich on life, that's for sure. All right.
I think he's doing pretty well.
If he doesn't have a stockpile of primers, he seems pretty poor to me. He's just
I have a decent amount of
stress.
primers. I have a decent amount of primers.
So my current thinking is I want a 1 year prudent reserve. I want to be able to shoot as much as I want for 1 year without having to buy any components. And I want that as the baseline, and then I buy components on top of that.
That was mine until COVID, and then it's like, no,
right. COVID wiped that out, and I'm just now getting back to that. Whereas I have that in bullets and primers and brass, but not quite in powder.
Bullets are always kind of easier to get than anything else, so I don't worry about stockpiling a huge. I mean, I want to.
They did have like 4 or 6 week delays, even for like the big coated manufacturers in peak COVID.
Yeah, I mean, but 4 to 6 weeks—that's not a 2 year. Whereas, like, we didn't see primers.
Jeff.
We didn't see primers for forever.
I just stretch my 800 bullets that I got left. I just stretch them out.
I want to like. I want to buy bullets once a year, so I want to buy. Okay, I'm going to buy enough that I'm going to get through the season.
The bullet fairy came when I was in New Hampshire, which was great. I came home and 6 boxes from RMR sitting on the porch.
You still just want 3,000, Jeff? Is that right?
You just talked to me to 6.
Yeah,
just up to 6 now.
Just hold on, because the guy that I shoot with, I was going to get some for him as well. That's been shooting with me.
Oh, I'm ordering tomorrow.
Oh, your student who isn't me?
Yeah. Dude, funny story about that. We were shooting this last week, and I set up like an array of like 3 papers and a piece of steel. And I was shooting it, and I was kind of showing him how, you can do different combinations, focus on different things, and look at the timer and see how much time it takes you to do this, and then you can kind of focus on that one thing and how to improve it. And so I shot this array, and I was like, I had a paper that was at least 20 yards. It was just an open paper, but it was out there. And so I was looking at the split, and I think it was in the 30s, like my split on that target. And he walks up and shoots it, and his time is like considerably slower than mine, but his splits on like this 15-yard partial and 20-yard open were like 16 and 20. Those were his splits on these targets. And I was like, I'll just be honest, that's too fast. Like there's no way that you're seeing anything if you're shooting that with iron sights. And he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't hitting them. And I was like, that's like I can look at that time and I can tell you that you're seeing one side picture and you're sending two shots. And he's like, oh yeah, I am. I was like, yeah, you need to see two side pictures.
Well, and it's so common because he's trying to go fast. He's trying to be fast like you. Yeah. What's the easiest thing to do fast?
Pull the trigger,
right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, I'm going to be fast like Jeff, so I'm just going to pull the trigger fast because that must be how he's so fast.
Right. Yeah, so his transitions would be like almost a full second between targets, and then it'd be like a 20 split. And he, like on the partial, like the 15-yard partial, I think it was like a 16 split.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I tell people like that, don't let anybody tell you to slow down.
That's what I tell them too.
Because yesterday when I set up a bunch of open paper to try and start fixing from New Hampshire, there's a brand new shooter. He shot my practice match, which isn't like a real match. And that's the only match he shot. But when he texted me, he's like, are you going to be at the range? And if I am, then he comes. And I'm not teaching him because I don't teach anybody, but it's like, you're welcome to do what I'm doing and you'll learn whatever you learn, right? Mm-hmm. So he's doing what I'm doing and he's doing exactly that. And, I had the paper at 5, 10, and 15 yards with, shooting the sort of the middle distance stuff on the move. So there's like an easy start, shoot some stuff on the move and a logical stop. And I'm like, I'm just trying to flow through this area and not really stop till I get there. And so it's just like, bam, 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 bam. Like, yeah. And then I thought of you guys in our conversation last time because he's like, so what's a good time for this? I'm like, oh, there is no good time for this, right? Like, this is not like a standard exercise. Nobody's ever going to set it up the way we have. Nobody's ever going to do the parameters. And I'm not. And I was really trying to, like, model, like, what you guys were talking about. Like, it doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, but, like, what's a good time for you on this? I'm like, I don't know. Like, my goal right now is to shoot alphas on open paper. And it's like, if I shoot Charlie's, I don't care what the time is. He's like, yeah, but is that like 7, 8 seconds? It's like, oh yeah, 7 seconds.
Right.
7 seconds.
I believe the time is 0.42.
Right.
What is the time? It's 0.42. That is the good time.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I mean, I can relate to that. Like, I mean, that's like, you want, like, the timer's objective, right? So it's really hard to explain to him, like, I want to notice that my vision, even as my body's moving, my vision stays oriented to the center of the A zone, not the whole A zone, but the center of the A zone, right? Like, you can't see that. It doesn't show up on the timer.
Yeah.
No, I get that from like wanting to be able to compare, because we train in isolation most of the time, and wanting to be able, like, know, am I training myself hard enough? I mean, my buddy Brett texted me today. He's like, hey, I've been training a lot, but can we shoot together once or twice before we go to Kentucky? Just, I want to make sure that I'm not just like shooting really conservatively. I was like, man, I'm happy to show up and I will shoot raw time and I'll do everything I can to try to make you think you're shooting too conservatively.
Brett must have been feeling too good about life. He wanted to go shoot with Jeremy.
I think so.
He's like, man, I just need somebody to shit on me. That's what I need.
That is not what happens when I shoot with Brett. He normally just makes me look bad because he shoots really well. So
that's actually Jay's secret. How he won high overall is he shot with me that a few days before that match, and he hadn't shot with me all year. And you notice he wins.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, I understand that urge and, hey, like, is this good enough? Like, you shoot something really well and you're like, wait, Is that good enough? Or
It was too slow.
should
I did it really well. It was too slow.
Right? I mean,
felt
like,
too good. It felt good. That's too slow.
Yeah, like my sights were right where I wanted them. I was hungry for those alphas. They just kept arriving. It must have been slow.
right. I mean,
Fast
like
and
you
dirty.
convince yourself that, and you wanna push, and sometimes you need to, and sometimes you don't, and figure it out. All right, guys, it has been a good one. It is late, and we appreciate everybody listening. Hit the like button, comment. I'd love to hear people's comments on anything. Hippo energy, pygmy hippo energy, billy goat energy, whatever kind of energy you're bringing. Let's
Donkey. All
hear
about
about
that donkey energy.
Donkey
That's
energy?
my new shooting spirit animal. Not like donkey like Laura's donkey show, but like donkey like boring, plodding, protect the flock. I don't know.
I think your energy is more of the what is the cow that's
Scalded
like,
cat.
No, the cow that's very hairy, like from like it's over in like Wales, right?
Oh
What is
yeah.
the name of that?
I was hoping you were gonna give me like Ankol Watusi, like with the giant horns in Africa, but like the really hairy Welsh cow seems about right.
No, yeah, and they're kind of small. They're smaller, but they're stocky, but they're smaller and really hairy.
I've got small cow energy.
I'd say hairy cow energy.
Hairy cow energy.
Seems good.
The size is secondary.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's been fun, and
You got to do your catch first, my friend.
break it like a biscuit.